And Liz, do you have my video spotlighted?
I will. And I'm going to share the first slide for you. And it's
Yes,
10 a.m. and we're recording. So here we go.
Wonderful.
Oops.
Just waiting for a slide.
There we go.
Perfect. Well, welcome everybody to the Royal BC Museum Family Day programming. Today is our first program here at the museum. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. I'm honored to be able to work here, and it is my privilege to be able to live here as well in this beautiful place. Today we have a bunch of different programs. Today is our first one with behind the scenes of orcas. We will also have animal portraits of four kids, family recipes, a walk in the park, and then also a virtual IMAX experience on watching humpback whales. The final program is sold out already. So for those who have gotten a spot, great job. For those who aren't, don't worry, when the IMAX is opened again, that will be one of the shows that we'll be playing. Perfect. See if you can stop sharing screen. Perfect, it's me. Hello, my name is Jenny Arnold. I'm a digital educator here at the Royal BC Museum. Today, I'm very excited to be joined with Gavin, Dr. Gavin Hanke, who is the curator of vertebrate zoology here at the museum. And we're going to be taking a look behind the scenes of the Orcas exhibit. Orcas Our Shared Future. I'm very excited. This has been a long process coming. It's coming out soon. I believe April 16th is when it'll be opened. And Gavin has been with this project since the beginning. So we're gonna be talking with him and walking through behind the scenes of the construction of this exhibit. It takes a lot of staff and experts to create an exhibit. So I'm excited to talk with Gavin today. So I'm gonna flip the camera over and introduce Gavin. Hello, Gavin. Can you tell us a little bit about why we're doing an exhibit about orcas?
Well, it's an easy sell for orcas here on the Pacific coast because they're an iconic animal along our coast. They're a huge part of the culture, period. So, and for me, they're like the canary in the coal mine for the environment. Orcas are top predators, just like we are top predators. So what happens to them and what happens to us, well, that's intertwined. So their story is also our story. And so it's an easy exhibit to produce.
Definitely. And we're going to be walking through kind of what the exhibit will look like. You'll see that there's a lot of construction going on as it is a work in progress. And we only have about a half hour. So we're going to start by looking through the exhibit. So I'm going to step back a bit. And this is where the entrance will be, correct?
Yeah, this will be the entryway and the first little section of the exhibit. There will be a wall up here. It's not assembled yet. But on the floor, there's panels that are going to be painted today. So as you walk into the exhibit, you're going to be walking through a fully framed and illuminated whale tail. So it's going to be really cool. Colin in our exhibits department has put this together. You can kind of see the frame behind the security gate. And so it's all going together today. So I saw the drawings and I saw the concepts, but now to see it full size, it's amazing. It's one of those things we do. Our exhibits always have a crazy entryway, like Egypt, Maya, now Orcas. It's going to be eye-catching. Yeah, and then once you're through this first section here, it'll introduce the ways that we are going to tell the story of the orcas. Indigenous culture, pop culture. We're going to hit captivity. You can't talk about orcas without captivity. My first orcas I saw in captivity. And then, of course, we have the scientific side of it as well. So the introduction will teach you that, the sort of ways to look at them, the ways we are going to show you them, orcas. And then as you come around the corner, you come face to face with Ruffles. Ruffles is, we wanted a nice big iconic male for J-Pod. He is J1, and this is a life-sized 3D printed replica of Ruffles. He's actually on the slightly smaller edge of his real size. He could have been 7.2 meters long. The lower estimate for his size was 6.8 meters. So we went with that. So he's, I'll get me in here for scale. As you can get them all, it's massive. His dorsal fin is almost into the rafters. It's huge. Just an amazing replica. So this was produced here in British Columbia. It's a 3D print made in little tiles and then assembled into this massive model. And in this room also, there are two other orcas. There's Slick and her daughter Scarlet. So they're right now hidden slightly from view behind all those Panasonic boxes. Maybe that's product placement, I don't know. Those boxes are full of projectors. And those projectors will be beaming onto massive screens that will surround you in this room so that it looks like you're underwater with the orcas. You are traveling with the orcas in this exhibit. It's going to be completely immersive, and I can't wait to see it running.
And you mentioned the two in the back. So this is a family group, correct?
Well, not so much for Ruffles, but Slick and Scarlet, mother and daughter. Scarlet died several years ago now. Slick is still with us, but one of the things that we will flag in the Orcas exhibit is the family groups of orcas are matriarchal, so mums rule. You know, mothers and grandmothers are in charge, and you'd better listen to them. They teach the young the language for each pod, and they teach them where to go, what to avoid. So yeah, everything is learned from mothers. So that really is a nice tie into today.
And is Ruffles originally part of this pod?
You know, Ruffles, when they were originally numbered, Ruffles was seen with a whale called Granny, J2. So they assumed that Ruffles was Granny's son, and that's not the case. Ruffles was adopted. So Ruffles, I think, was from K-Pod, if memory serves correctly. I'll have to check on that. It's this last year we've got the text in, and it sort of started to slip from my mind. But yeah, so he's not an original J-Pod whale, but as an iconic member, J1, because he was the first one that they gave a number to when they started numbering you guys, with his iconic ruffled dorsal fin, we had to include him. There's a whale slightly later on in the science section, and Ruffles is that whale's father. So he does have a family connection in the exhibit. So yeah, as you're walking through here, you basically you'll come alongside these whales. There'll be infographic panels down below. Imagine yourself basically underwater with scenes of the ocean going by very slowly as if you're swimming with the whales. It's going to be fantastic. Slick and Scarlet side by side again. Scarlet had a problem birth, and so she actually has scars where one of the other orcas, possibly Granny herself, helped pull her out, helped with the birth. So she is scarred, and the red marks when she was very young, of course, that's where the name came from, Scarlet. It's amazing to see them up close, like to see an adult and then to see Scarlet. I think Scarlet at just short of 4 years old was the size of a 1-year-old. She was undersized. And her story is sad. We detail the lives of whales through the exhibit, so you'll see little snippets of their lives as you walk through. It can be gut-wrenching. So let's watch our step. There's all kinds of construction equipment around here. We've got piping, netting. So the next step, we'll be coming through. This would be a completely changed environment. So you're walking into a science lab in this section. This is Rhapsody. Rhapsody was J32, another J-Pod whale. And below her, in a display case that would be illuminated from the bottom, is her unborn daughter. And her daughter obviously didn't get a name. So we have both of their skeletons. In 2014, Rhapsody was found dead with her calf near full term. And so their story is obviously very sad. Worse yet, when Rhapsody was on the beach, someone tried to cut some of her teeth. Well, they succeeded in cutting some of her teeth out. So you can see that in the skeleton. It's on the other side, actually, on the lower jaw. Watch out, there's a blanket there. Yep. So you can see the teeth that are cut off. There's about 6 of them that are cut. And yeah, so that's part of her story. Not only did she die, and that's very sad, but someone desecrated the body on the beach. So right now she's not fully completed yet. We're still going to attach her arms. I use the term arms because they're the same bones as our arms. And so they will attach here and stick out. So she will be a full skeleton when she's lifted up a little higher. And as you walk into the lab, she's going to be chasing a Chinook salmon. So we've got a replica Chinook salmon that she'll be going after. It's actually quite impressive when you look right down her mouth. You realize what a salmon would be seeing as it's being chased. Underneath her, of course, all these display cabinets will be full of material. There will be a orca brain, a human brain. The human brain got still. And I'm not sure if it will be touchable during the exhibit, but it's actually made out of a rubber, so it feels squishy, kind of like a real, it's a little harder than a real brain would be, but either way, it's really cool.
I saw a question, is this a real skeleton?
That is the real skeleton. This is a research specimen. It's from the museum's research collection. And because of that, I didn't want anyone drilling into the bones to secure them to the frame. So she is sitting on a metal frame to support all the bones, all of the vertebrae and the chevrons down below. They're all held in place and they're tied on. And so yeah, this is a real skeleton. This is not a replica. And same with her calf, which will be in the display case below. The only part of the calf that is not going to be real will be the teeth. Mammal teeth notoriously split in research collections, and the teeth of an orca calf are like, they almost look like ice cream cones. They're very thin cones, simple cones, and they will just dry and split. So we actually have replica teeth for the exhibit because the real teeth are actually going to stay in a climate controlled box.
Is the skeleton heavy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, this is very heavy. The skull alone, it's to put it in place, it's 2 people. You need 2 people to do it safely. The bones have been degreased, so they're lighter than they would have been originally, but still, it's still heavy. And we're not holding back here. There's steel cable and chain holding her in place. So yeah, it's very heavy. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to get around. Oh. Yeah, we can get around here. Yeah, this entire region, a lot of stuff. They're really going to town on construction. Huh? So this entire lab will be mostly white, and on the walls will be infographic panels, maps showing where orcas live around the world and showing some of their unique behaviors, a little bit about orca anatomy and lifestyle. But this is strictly from the scientific perspective. So yeah, we'll come around through a doorway here. It's the doorway starting to get roughed in. And then we move into a section that is more devoted to, this section will be devoted to Indigenous culture. And so as a scientist, it's not my expertise, so I really won't speak to it. But I did notice on the counter here, these are the acrylic insets for holding Rhapsody's calf. So these are the lower jaws, the teeth, parts of the skull. Something people might not realize, but when a whale, even at birth, all of the bones, like ours, when we're babies, the bones aren't fully sutured. So the skull bones actually came apart. So we will be displaying the skull bones as they sat. They're basically, this is an exploded view of a baby orca. So instead of lifelike, where the bones are all in place in the mother, these bones will be separate. You can see the wells for each of the teeth. And that's the upper jaw here. I think those are the nasal bones. Yeah, amazing stuff. And so our exhibits guys figured out how we're going to do this and how we're going to prop all the bones up to get a really cool display. I can't wait to see that done. So yeah, this section is just started. Really. There's not much up. Be careful. There's a lot of electronics around. A lot of the panels are going to be backlit, so it's just going to be so eye-catching and beautiful.
There's a question, is this kind of a 2-part? Is this gallery permanent, and also is it going to be traveling?
this whole exhibit, don't quote me on the exact square footage, is 8,000 square feet. And this will travel. This whole thing will travel. It may come back depending on timing. I don't know where it's going next. But yeah, ultimately, this is a traveling exhibit. It will be here for a nice long run, and then we're hoping it's going to go global. I think obviously the replicas will come back, the skeletons and the artifacts will all come back. So, but yeah, the original intent when we designed this was to make a traveler. And then we move over here. We get into a section here all about pop culture. So there's movie posters, t-shirts, things that you could buy at a public aquarium when you saw orcas. Here's a Canucks jersey with, obviously it's got an orca on it. This looks like a cup from SeaWorld or something like that. Banners. It's amazing. And really to get a depth or understanding of the pop culture, all you need to do is go to a tourist shop here in Victoria and look for things with orcas on it. It could be mugs, it could be badges, it could be hats. All of that sort of commercial culture around marketing orcas will be in these cases. And so, yeah, you can see the display cases are huge. Quite a stark contrast to all of the other sections of the exhibit. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see what we got. That's a Free Willy poster there. I'm trying to see what the actual, this poster is about blackfish. And then this area will transition into a discussion of whales in captivity. So my first orca that I ever saw was at Marine Land in Niagara Falls. And I've actually got photos of it and used the photos in our book that we published as a companion to this exhibit. So I bet a lot of people inland, their first experience with a marine life period, not just orcas, is in an aquarium.
Yeah, mine was as well.
This section hasn't even really been started. Just as a sneak preview, right now it's just boxes and a bit of storage. This will be a miniature theater. And in this area, we will talk about Penn Cove, which was an infamous whale capture here in the Pacific Northwest, where too many whales were caught in one go. Basically, they circled around and trapped a superbomb. And it was a gut-wrenching experience. The people who were there will never forget it. The video is tough to watch. So while we're showing you how wonderful and gorgeous these whales are, there's some of the content here is going to be tough to digest. So this particularly will be one of the uncomfortable sections. Okay, watch out for that brace. And then ultimately we move into this big section. This is what we call our shared future. And we're starting to bring in there's stuff everywhere, so watch your step. This area will talk about threats to orcas, things that people are doing that are good, wildlife conservation initiatives, plastics in the ocean, pollution, overfishing, you name it, it's going to be here. So this also, to some degree, has a depressing factor to it, but it also is empowering us to think about how we can change our lives to better orcas and ultimately better ourselves. This center section here, above it will be a cylinder, and this is going to be an interactive game where you can change what you do and it will change the environment. So you can make the world more polluted and see what happens, or you can clean up the planet and see what happens, all relative to marine health. So it'll be a fun interactive that we've developed. Around us in this sort of amphitheater space, there will be clear cabinets with marine plastic in it. There's a section that'll be devoted to some specific whales that are in captivity, Morgan being the name that leaps to mind. And then as we leave the area that's not really developed yet, basically it's to take you out of here on a message of hope. And we've picked out a really, really cool video of some people that recorded orcas as it's swimming along behind a boat. And if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, I don't know what will, because it's beautiful to see this video as they're just sort of swimming along, checking out the camera. It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Gavin. There's a lot to take in. I've seen the development of this for the last 2 years, and it's always exciting to see what has come so far. Liz, I know there was a bunch of questions popping by. I didn't have the time to see any. Do you mind letting us know some questions?
Yeah, we definitely have some questions here. So Charlie, who is 6, she's wondering, are there any technical difficulties so far in building the exhibit? Which part has been the hardest part so far?
Ooh, good question.
The hardest part. Well, for me, because I'm lucky, I just have to write the text and pick out images and say what I want. So probably our exhibits team should answer this question, not me. You imagine moving something the size of a life-sized 3D printed orca. That's been a challenge to get that positioned in the right place in the exhibit and then hung up at the right height and angle. Obviously, this last year has not been a typical year, so there have been technical challenges just with that. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that are tricky, but our team has handled it beautifully, and I'm amazed to see this finally coming together. It's after a bit of a year's lag, I'm really starting to get the excitement back.
Thank you for your question.
Here's another question from Dana, is wondering, will there be chairs to sit so you can draw the exhibit?
I am not entirely sure. I haven't seen the design for this area here, the shared future area. I think there may be a seating area in one of the corners. There may be chairs in the middle here, around this interactive table. The theater obviously will have chairs, and I know we passed them actually. They look like bleachers from like you'd see in an aquarium.
Yes.
A public aquarium. So there is that kind of seating. I think the immersive section as you're walking with the 3D printed orcas, I think that's a straight walkthrough, and I don't recall seating in the science area.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here's another one. Stephen asks, who decides when and how an exhibit gets to travel? Can Victorians help promote this exhibit?
That's more of a question for Michael Barnes. He's the head of exhibits. Yeah, I mean, we decided internally that this is something that should travel because the story of orcas is a global story. It's not just a BC story. It's not a Washington story. Wherever there's salt water, you can find orcas. They'll even go into the tropics on occasion. So, I mean, this is an Antarctic story. Russia, Japan, Mediterranean, Gibraltar, South Africa. There's orcas all over the world. So we thought it would be good to bring the story and the awareness of what we're doing to these animals to the planet. So this was almost like it was tailor-made to travel.
Okay, thank you. Lucy asks, how did you catch the whales, Gavin?
How did I catch? Well, okay, the Rhapsody, we don't actually catch whales. Rhapsody actually had died, and so when Fisheries and Oceans examined her body, we were asked if we wanted her skeleton. So we don't actively go out catching any marine mammals. So we only get them if they do wash up. So more salvage than anything else. It's sad and it's a horrific job to do. I helped prepare a gray whale from the beach to the museum, and we would never go out hunting. We just have to pick them up if we find them.
Great question.
Yeah.
Do you have time for more, Jenny?
Yes, we do.
Okay, there's a few more. Okay, Bronwyn asks, what has the museum done to make this exhibit more eco-friendly and less plastic? Good question.
That's a funny question. Now, originally, when you walk out of an exhibit, usually there's a gift shop. And in the gift shop, how many times do you see plastic objects, toys, all kinds of odd things that would be counter to our environmental message here? So this exhibit doesn't have a gift shop, but if we had one, we had already done a lot of research to look for items that were reusable, like reusable bags for carrying groceries or when you go shopping, travel mugs that are reusable, steel straws, things that weren't going to end up in a landfill in a couple of years. So we had put some serious thought into what we would put into a gift shop if we had one, to make it eco-friendly, so that we weren't being hypocritical. It was, that was tough, to be honest. It was a very tough thing, because most of the items you'll find in a gift shop are plastic, and yeah, that's a real challenge.
Thank you for your question.
Thanks, Gavin. There's a couple of different, 2 or 3 questions people are asking about, because if people can't get up here because of COVID restrictions and for all kinds of reasons, will we be doing digital tours? And I can answer that yes, we will be doing tours for schools and other groups, and that will be up on the website soon. So you can book those. And Gavin and Jenny, do you know if there's plans for a recorded tour like we did with the Emily Carr exhibition? I'm not quite sure.
I don't know.
I know.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah, there is a possibility. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Look what I found.
Is it on the ground?
Yeah, you know what that is?
A piece of wood?
It's a Star Wars character. It's Wedge.
Oh. Ah. We do have some time for more questions.
Oh, okay. And I'm just seeing there's answers. Yes, we are planning a virtual tour. That is in the works. I thought it was. Okay. Okay. Yes, there are some other questions. There's so many. Okay.
Yeah, but for a minute.
Yep. Can you tell us where the skeleton was found and how it died?
Oh,
Rhapsody back there.
Rhapsody she washed up near Comox, and it was 2014. She had a full-term baby, and she was thin, so obviously had not been finding enough food. And I can't remember what the full results of the necropsy that detailed, but if she was not able to give birth, I think that was part of the problem, that she was not able to give birth. The baby died early, and then so she was carrying around her dead daughter internally, and could not. It's going to sound horrible to expel the baby, and she died as a result of the infection from that. Yeah, it's a horrific story when you think about it. But yeah, that's one of the reasons that she had to be put in this exhibit, because she is such an iconic character in J-Pod and our local Orcas. She was such a favorite among the whale watchers. There's loads of photos of her jumping. She was, even when she was pregnant. So yeah, we had to use her in the exhibit.
For sure.
Thanks, Gavin. There's another question here from Margot. Where will the Indigenous pieces be placed in the exhibit?
There's right in the entryway, like right up front. You walk in and there will be a massive, I'm not going to spoil and say what it is. There is an amazing item in there. Like it's hard to describe it without giving it away. In the entryway. So right as you walk in, that the Indigenous content is right there. Throughout the exhibit, we will be weaving the 3 ways that we are understanding orcas here. Right now, the main section will be right after the science lab. And again, it's going to be a gorgeous section of the exhibit. I've seen the design drawings, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see the final production. The walls, it's like full height. Oh.
Thanks. We had time about one more question.
One more quick. Okay, here's a good one from Bronwyn. Was there anything you had wanted for this exhibit, Gavin, that didn't make it in, or that other folks wanted to get in that didn't make it in, that you can tell us?
That's tough. I think for me, that I would have probably wanted a lot more in this shared future section on the environmental message, because there's only so much you can get into a space content-wise, because you can't write a massive amount of text, because people just, by the time they get to this section of the exhibit, they might be tired of reading. So I think we held back a bit on this section. Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the captivity section, I don't know if we held back a bit on there too. But I think overall we've got a really good balance of what's the word I'm looking for here, of content. But I mean, we tell the story from so many different ways that it is a balanced exhibit. It's not coming down entirely negative on the aquarium industry. We have learned a lot, but we're not shying away from some of the dark sides of that industry.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Gavin. I'm going to flip the camera around to have both of us in the frame. Yay. Hello. So thank you so much for joining us here for a sneak peek behind Orcas, Our Shared Future. That exhibit will be opened on April 16th, which is very soon. So hope to see everyone come there and enjoy the rest of your family day with all the other wonderful programs. Thanking you so much, Gavin, for showing me around. And take care, everybody.